Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. We are back at the MCP Project podcast, and we are here with a lot of you might know him as the Rocky from the Nuggets, and he's the number one mascot for the last 33 years. We have him here today, know him as Ken. So we're just going to get right into it and start talking about Ken and Rocky.
Marissa, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
So happy to
asking
have
me
you.
to be here.
Oh gosh, you have quite the story, Ken, and I'm so anxious to hear all about it myself. So just dive right into it.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
First thing first, I wanted to know what got you started. This is a 33-year journey being Rocky for the Denver Nuggets, and you just finished. It seems like about how long ago?
So, fall of 23.
Okay.
So it's been about a year and a half, and started in high school. I started being a mascot in high school. I saw the San Diego Chicken when I was 15 at a baseball game in Vegas, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that guy gets paid to play. I got to do that. I got to try that." And
how cool is that? Oh
and
my
then,
gosh.
Yeah. So high school, put myself through college, got scholarships to do this, and then once I realized I could get paid to do this, I just kept going and ended up starting with the Nuggets in 1990, and raised a family, and by getting paid to play. I mean, playing dress up for a living is what I call it. But it's so much more to it than that. But that's in a nutshell. That's what it is. Was inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame in 2008. I have several awards. Cartoon Network.
Oh my God.
I was voted most awesome mascot 2013, I believe.
And I have to say, you are an incredible mascot. Just going to the games and just seeing your energy. Oh, so you're just amazing. But continue on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I tell people all the time, I was just having fun. It was just
and it showed.
It was just me just having fun out there. I loved what I did. Loved it, and it was a release for me. It was therapy for me. It was entertaining to myself, not just others. I really just had a ball with it. Always tried to push the limits. Always tried to, just get better and be better. And I never wanted to just be the typical mascot. Never wanted to be the guy in a costume out there. You can always tell, or when you look at a mascot, you either look at a character or you see a guy in a costume.
Oh, so true. And you said, you play dress up for a living, but there's so much more than that. There's so much more that goes into it than that. So let's go into that. Like all of what it took to put on the suit, to be out there in the energy and can you take us down that path? Because it's just something that not a lot of people will ever experience in their life. And I just want to hear more about that.
Yeah. You sent me a little questionnaire before this.
Yeah.
And one of the questions in it was, what are some of the misconceptions about what I do?
Yes.
And so I think this ties into with the questions you just asked me, is that, a lot of people thought or think that it's just throwing on the costume and going out there and winging it.
Mm-hmm.
And, for some, that's the case. For me, so much of it was flying by the seat of my pants and just on the fly. However, there was so much more planning than people could imagine. Getting in costume, I've been asked, so what was that like? And somebody asked me, like, did you ever feel like a change? And I did, and I wanted to, I guess, share that with you. Where there's this might sound corny, but getting in character was not just putting on a costume; it was getting in character.
Yeah.
And so as I would get dressed, and even prior to that, somewhat, getting in character in my dressing room, getting hyped up. Sometimes it took music. Sometimes it just took, talking things out with my assistant or my sons or, whatever, what I was going to do that night. And then by the time I would put on the costume, put on the head, I was this other character. And
so cool.
I took on the role of Rocky. It's weird because sometimes I refer to myself in the first person and then I'll mix in third person stuff, and like when Rocky did this.
Yes.
But yeah, it was me. It was an extension of me, my personality, and it was just exaggerating. What is inside of me.
So you had said, you started doing the mascot, that fun stuff in high school. Like you dressed up, you saw a pathway to this. Could you go into a little bit more detail of, so once you got a taste of that, knew you could get paid for that, then it was just, you just went game on and saw an opportunity with the Nuggets? Or can you share with us how it got started in 1990?
Yeah, so way back, in high school when I was 15 in 1982, I saw this. I saw the San Diego Chicken. I saw this character come to life at a baseball game, and I was enamored. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off this goofy looking chicken, and the energy he had. The expressions that I could see on his face without him changing anything, obviously. And, because it was a full-on head and beak and everything. But the way he moved and the way he expressed himself and the way his timing, everything was just so on that I was glued on him the whole game. So I actually came back the next night because it was a homestand, whatever, and they had him back for a second night. I came back and I literally took notes on not what he did, but how he did it. And I thought to myself, you know what, right there, that is, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I at that point, I wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a 33-year career professionally.
Yeah.
But I thought, I want to do that. I want to explore that. And I want to entertain people at, I want to do that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I went to my high school. They had a costume tucked away in a dusty old box in a closet. And it was supposed to be a wolf, but it looked like Chuck E. Cheese that had been run over several times. So it was bad. It looked like it looked like a roadkill mouse. But from even high school, I had people showing up to these games to see the mascot.
Yeah.
I had heard rumblings of this, and it just encouraged me some more. That little bit of oomph, that little bit of praise, that little bit of boost of my self-confidence or whatever, that little bit of attention.
Yeah.
I just fed off of it and kept going. And then when it came to graduating, by the way, it was a whole family affair.
Okay.
So, I need to tell people all the time. I feel very important to tell people that my parents and my family loved it and encouraged me. And except for my brother, back then, my older brother was like, "Dude, you're gonna get beat up. I'm telling you, man." He had just graduated from high school. He was out, but he's like, "Dude, don't embarrass me, man. You're killing me here. You're gonna be the mascot." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be good though." And man, my dad made my costume for my senior year. So I was a junior at the time when I first started.
Cool.
He and my mom helped, they made my costume.
Oh my God,
I just found a
love
picture, by
that.
the way, of my dad making a mold of my face, a plaster mold, so he could put latex on it. And
Oh my
things like that. Yeah.
that is
Here's me
so
laying on the kitchen
cool.
table. He's got plaster on my face and straws up my nose.
Oh.
But it was everybody getting into it and supporting me. My dad would drive me to the games in our van and be, pumping whatever music I wanted.
Yo, that's
He
so
was not
cool.
into AC/DC at the time, but he became a fan after a while.
So cool. I love that. So mom, dad, everybody's on board besides brother,
Mm.
but soon enough he changed.
Yeah.
So when you had the opportunity being a mascot for, in high school and then in college, and then you saw this opportunity with the Nuggets, how did that work? How did that all happen?
So after I had gotten scholarships to, I pretty much, and going along with the theme of your podcast here, you know, I tried, I don't know. There was no way that I wasn't going to do this.
Okay.
I knew that I had somewhat of a talent for this. And if I could get people to pay me for that, I just kept rolling with it. So even when I went to Utah State, I had tried out at all these other places.
Mhm.
And so I'm backing up just a little bit
No,
from
I'm
your
happy.
question
I want
here.
to hear. This is great.
But just even before the Nuggets came along, I had tried out at all these other colleges. In fact, they had offered me scholarships. I had made it. They had, hey, great, got $150 here a semester for you. I'm like,
What?
okay, well, that's what I'm getting at a junior college right now. So can you step that up? No, that's what we pay our cheerleaders. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm not a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I'm a mascot.
Yeah.
I'm your entertainment. And they just, UNLV. Yeah, hey, we love you. Great. You're our guy. I tried out, did the whole process. Nope. BYU. Great, we'd love you. I was trying to, network in all these different areas.
Yeah.
Finally, I went to Utah State and I said, hey, let me do a game for you. I don't want to do just a tryout. Let me do a game for you as your mascot. They didn't have one person. They would just use a cheerleader whenever they wanted to, put them in the costume.
Uh-huh.
And I said, if you like me, let's talk scholarship.
Yes.
If you don't, hey man, you got a game and no harm, no foul.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that game for them. They loved it. They offered me $150 a semester, and I walked. And
Wow.
they, I said, I'm more than that.
Yeah.
And they ended up calling me back and offering me more, $300. Wow, I appreciate that, but I still said no.
Wow.
They kept offering. About my fourth or fifth call, the guy says, hey, look, I have pulled from every source I can to get you a scholarship. Please consider this, and we'd love to have you. And I said, well, what do you got?
Yeah.
He says, I got everything but housing.
Whoa.
I said, okay, we're good. Let's go.
Oh
Let's
my
go. Let's go.
gosh.
So I went to Utah State for a year, and I went crazy. I had a ball there. And then I came to Denver on an internship with the Rocky Mountain News back in the day.
Wow.
And for the summer. And while I was here working, I checked with the Nuggets. I called them up. I got patched through to Lisa Whitaker. Lisa Whitaker was the game operations person at the time. And I talked her into watching a way too long of a VHS tape that I had brought in. She was very nice, very sweet. And then she gave me a little tour of the arena and then showed me the door. And she says, well, we'll let you know if we're interested and whatever.
Yeah.
But the rest of the summer, I kept hounding her and kept calling. And I wanted this. I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that I could do this for the Nuggets. And that, in my mind, they needed me.
Yes.
So I just kept at it.
So not to interrupt, but did they have a mascot at that present
They
time?
didn't. I found out that they had somebody previously, which it was Maxie the Miner.
Oh, okay.
And I think he wasn't even paid. I think he was just some guy that was running around the stands, kind of like the barrel man or whatever.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they didn't. And I just, I was
I love
No, they
that.
didn't.
I just love the no quit. I think a lot of the time if you get told no or you get told something and you think, oh, that for a lot of people it's just like, oh well, I guess maybe that's it. Or they'll settle for 150 and you knew that you were worth more than that. And I think that's so important to share with people in the sense of like if you're truly convicted in doing something you love, you have to ask and believe that you're worth it. And that I loved what you said about they needed you. Like you didn't need them. You felt like the team needed you. This mascot who was going to come in and dominate and perform and be that for them, that they had no idea about that. So you stayed true to that and you didn't vary. And I think that's just so important to share with people. So thank you for that. So
Yeah.
now we're getting so you showed them there wasn't a mascot with the Nuggets prior. So you're talking, you saw the arena. So go from there. I want to hear more about
Yeah.
this.
So when I finally went back to school, I was a little discouraged because I didn't have a definite, path. I guess I'm going
Sure,
back to school.
sure.
I didn't want to go
Yeah.
back to school. I had no interest in school at all. And I thought, I felt very, like there was a lack of closure or
Oh,
something like
sure.
this is not over. And I
Sure.
went back to school and I got a call about a month and a half later from Lisa saying, we're actually going to have tryouts. She said, I
Oh
need
my
this from you. I need you to
gosh.
shorten your video and I need this from the video and blah, blah. So edit that. I need, resume, everything, get that to me. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going bigger than that. I said, appreciate that. I'll see you. I appreciate that. I'll get you my stuff. And so I got to work immediately on getting the best resume, the best video, the best letters of recommendation. I put together a whole package of newspaper articles, anything I could find that was relevant to
You.
this
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
And I went after it. I even went to the president of the school, of the university, and walked into his office and said, I would like a letter of recommendation from the president of the school. And the lady looked at me like, for what? And she's like, who are you? And I go, well, I'm actually, I'm actually the mascot. And she's like, you're Big Blue? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh my gosh, he loves you. And
Oh
the
my
president of the school,
gosh.
I mean,
Oh, love
yeah.
that.
So he got me a letter of recommendation and, together I sent it all in. They invited me to the tryouts. I went out there, came here to Denver and
Yes.
tried out. They called me the next day, said, we'd like to talk to you.
Oh
I do want
my
to share this
gosh.
with you
Yes.
that, even with this whole, the family thing, my parents being behind me and everything, my dad, I still had reservations because I knew my dad would tell me to stay in school. Don't quit.
Mm.
He was all about school. He was all about education. He had he's got his master's and all that. And so when they said they were going to offer me the position, I had to call him and get his okay.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm a young guy and, am I doing the right thing here, Dad?
Sure.
So I called him up and I said, hey, Dad, they're going to offer me this. Should I take it? It would mean I'd have to quit school.
Mhm.
And he goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm asking kind of for your, what do you think? He goes, Ken, let me ask you, what do you go to school for? What do you go to college for? I said, well, get a good job, study for your career, whatever. And he says, well, what do you think you've been doing? He goes,
Wow.
you've been doing this long before you went to college. So get after it. Go get it.
Oh my
He says,
God.
school will always be there, but this is what you do. You've prepared.
I love that. That's like, oh, I just
Ah,
love that so much. That support and that belief is just, oh, it was just what you needed to
that was
just
it.
go.
I
Oh,
hung up
that's
the
so
phone.
good.
I was in tears and doing the
Oh,
happy dance on the
yeah.
bed
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
in the
so
hotel.
cool.
And yeah, then threw on some clothes and ran over
Oh
to
my gosh, that
McNichols.
literally like brought tears to me because I know that support and that is just so important and having that influence is huge. So
Oh.
getting that okay is like, it just
That was the stamp.
everything.
Okay.
Yep.
It opened up the floodgate.
Yep.
You know?
I love that so much. So now you get the go, and tell us what happens next.
Oh, it sucked.
Oh,
The first part of it sucked.
what happened?
Well, so I go down to Atlanta to the company called Real Characters, and
Okay.
they fit me for this costume. But the first costume has feet I'm supposed to wear that are this big.
Oh my God.
And it's like running around in pool flippers, or diving flippers or whatever. I'm like, how am I supposed to run upstairs in this? And they're like, you figure it out. It's just part of the look and all that. And I wore them for a game or two, and I told the Nuggets, I said, this is impossible. If you want the character that I think you want, I gotta get rid of these shoes.
Yeah.
So we modified it a little bit, but the first few games honestly were terrible. I thought I was in college still, and I just quickly realized that what you do in college does not translate to the NBA. So, you go to you walk out as the mascot onto the court, and you get a standing O right away, or they just love you. Any movement you make, he lifted his hand. But I was after a few games, I had just come off the court after doing this great skit that I just killed it in college. Came off the court, and here was Carl Scheer, the guy that hired me, a legend in the NBA.
Oh, gee.
And he's just standing there. Didn't even look at me as I came off the court, but I ran right past him. He just kind of stared past me. Kind of taking that deep breath, Gosh. And I get a call next morning, come into his office.
Oh, no.
I go in there and I sit down, and he looks at me. He's very, he always looked like he was half asleep. But he looks up at me, and he goes, thanks for coming in. He finishes writing something, puts down his pen, and he goes, Ken, this is not college anymore. This is the NBA. Step it up.
Oh, dang.
Thank you. And pointed at the door. I'm like, oh my gosh. I got up, my heart's pounding. I'm like, I'm going to pee my pants. This is terrible. And walked out thinking I am going to be fired.
Oh, no.
So I called up my buddy who was in Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawk, my buddy Wayne Jordan, and he was the one that kind of ran my tryouts, and he was working with the company that got put the costume together and everything. It was this whole package. I called him up and said, I'm gonna get fired. He's like, no, you're not. Let's walk through some stuff. So he kind of mentored me a little bit, and for a little bit longer, and I just had to shift gears up here a little bit,
sure,
and step it up, and it paid off. And then I end up breaking my back in 1995.
So what happened there?
Sticking with the theme of this podcast, the trials that came along were crazy. Something that I just didn't expect, something that you wouldn't expect as a mascot. But, there were people hated me at first. I got booed several times, and I just, I kept at it and everything. But when it came to breaking my back, I broke my back doing a dunk, hit the floor, and just shattered L3 and 4.
Oh my God.
But the outpouring of, so first of all, I was hospitalized for a little bit, but the Nuggets decided to lean into this. And they, said what had happened or whatever. They, they did shots of Rocky at the hospital. They did shots of, and even right when I broke my back, I was laying in the. I'm just. This is all kind of
Yeah.
disjointed here, but
Yeah.
even the night I broke my back, I was laying in the hospital thinking, I'm done. They're going to replace me. They're going to put somebody else in it. What if they like that person more than me, or whatever?
Yeah.
And I mean, all the self damaging
Yeah.
thoughts. I'm I'm not going to
Yeah.
make it out of this.
Oh,
And got an idea. Middle of the night, called up my friend as soon as I could at Channel 9. I said, hey, come on over. I'm going to talk in costume.
oh, so
Boom,
good.
this guy was over here.
So good.
And I said, hey, you got to ask me one question. Ask me anything, but ask me one question. And it was, are the Nuggets going to replace me?
Oh.
And yeah, he asked me. I said, no, they're going to stick with me. And no one's going to replace me or anything. It's just, they're standing behind me 100%.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So they called me. The Nuggets actually called me a couple hours later and said, they reiterated that. So I was like, whew, good. This was the right call. And but they leaned into it.
That's so
And it was so good because the community at that point just rallied, and there was an outpouring of love. And I mean, I got boxes and boxes of
my God.
letters
Oh my
from like
gosh.
whole elementary schools were sending boxes over of all these handwritten notes. We're all going to write Rocky today, you guys.
Gosh.
Radio stations set up big old get well cards.
Oh
I
my
mean, the size of that
God.
wall, people were pulling up to these remotes and signing get well Rocky. I still have all this stuff, by the way.
That is so cool.
I've hoarded all this.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
But I knew at that point I had some momentum. I had
Yeah.
made an impact on this community a little
Yes.
bit. And so
Yes.
there's a whole lot, and I'm sorry, I'm just like firing stuff away,
No,
but
I love it. That
but
is so good.
that gave me the encouragement as I came back to see the love and everything that this community had for this character.
Yes. So you kept going. So,
Yeah.
after the back healed, you got back into it, got
Mhm.
back out there. So tell us how, thank you so much for sharing that, because the trials of that had to have been very hard. Getting booed, not sure not sure that you're making an impact, and then you break your back and you don't know if you're going to, continue on.
So, at that point, it's just a matter of, pushing the limits. I always wanted to push the limits. I think if you're not excelling in what you do something else. And if you don't feel like
Yeah.
this is where you should be, get somewhere else and get there fast. I
I
knew
love
this
that.
was for me, and I knew this is what I was supposed to do. I felt like after a while of gaining some momentum and making some impact and feeling the love, and then also getting stories shared with me in from various sources, that I was making an impact on individuals. It just deepened my love for the character, for the job, for the Nuggets. My loyalty for the Nuggets was just through the roof. I always wanted to stay in character. I always wanted to, while I was in costume, stay in character. Never tarnish the character. Never. There's the times that I love the most. People will ask me this all the time. What were what were the moments that you cherish the most? And they always think it's the, stuff with Charles Barkley, or the
sure.
big players, or the stars, or the
Yeah.
all-star games. Or I've traveled to over 40 countries, and
Wow.
is it that yeah, that's all awesome.
Right.
But the stuff with like children's hospital visits and families and birthday parties where I'm going into people's homes, and they're just welcoming me in,
Yes.
and things. It was just amazing. I've been with so many terminally ill children that Make-A-Wish kids that all they want to do is hang with Rocky, or be Rocky's assistant for a game.
Yeah.
Or, I was even in the hospital one time with I have so many just tender moments where I was just in tears. One, I witnessed a little girl, probably 8 years old, come out of a coma.
Oh my
And
God.
from every indication, I don't know if it was me, but from every indication, I was there. Her mother, who looked like she had just been through the ringer. You could just see the pain and anguish on her face next to her little girl in this bed. And, here I am just rubbing the back of her hand with the back of, Rocky's hand. And, her mother's over there saying, Rocky's here. Wake up. He wants to see you. And she's looking at me like,
Oh my God.
like, I know she's not going to wake up. You can just see it in her face, but she's trying everything. And then to have this little girl all of a sudden, out of the blue,
Wake up.
open her eyes and look over at me first. And
Oh my.
you can see on her face this smile without moving her face. I don't know if you know if that makes sense, but
She's smiling with her eyes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, all the, nurses rush in and all the mayhem starts. And, I kind of fade back and finally end up backing out of the door. And,
Sorry, that's just
there's
so good. There's so much more.
There's so much. Yeah. Yeah. I've been with kids. I was with one who wanted to be a NBA player for a day. And so the Nuggets did this whole thing, picked him up in a limo and did the whole contract signing and everything. And we did this whole thing with him on the court and press conference and all this stuff with this little kid. And within weeks, he was gone, and so... some real special moments. Those are my favorite. I do have another one where a mother, and I won't go into details on this one. This is pretty tender this is pretty tender. But a mother shared with me one time how she found out what happened to her son during time when she and her husband were away. Something happened with her son and a babysitter. And she told me the story of how, because of Rocky, she found out what had happened. It wasn't therapists. It wasn't counseling that they put this little boy through. It was him finally telling his Rocky doll while she listened at the door. It just happened that she was walking by while her son was in his room sitting on the bed talking to his Rocky doll. So,
Rocky is just so special. I mean, just changing lives, like helping people, making a difference and impacting so many just in such a, I mean, you had the gift when you were born and then it carried through, but like what a blessing that all is. I mean, that's incredible.
Like who'd have thought?
I know.
Who would you ever have thought any of that,
Right.
would happen? And I certainly didn't. There was some very special moments, and then on the other hand, some really big, flashy stuff that was awesome.
That's real cool. Most people think the meeting like hanging with Charles Barkley or all these NBA superstars that you get to, and you're the NBA superstar too. You're the one as well, but it's just like so many people don't have that opportunity because a lot of people aren't Rocky, So it's cool.
It's the one constant that that any team really has is their mascot,
right?
And players come and go, coaches come and go, management comes and goes.
Sure,
but
Rocky's there. He's always there. It's the consistent piece to the team.
Yeah,
it's always there. So you're meeting everybody famous. You're friends with them now. You're doing some pretty neat things. Share with us a couple experiences or
There's a ton of stories like with Charles Barkley. A lot of people ask about that, and it's I love my times with Charles Barkley because Charles got it.
Yeah.
Charles knew that games are not games. It's not the NBA. It's not the competition. It's not the players. It's entertainment.
Yeah, the show.
It's just entertainment.
It's the show, yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And he got it.
Yeah.
And he liked being the bad boy. And
Yeah.
and I worked it out so I could get him to knock me off my stilts, and that was huge. My team was like, "There's no way he's going to do that." I said, "He will do that."
Oh, that's so.
Okay, let me back up though and share the beginning of that whole Barkley thing.
Yes.
It was crazy. He had just been in the news for being, I don't know, angry at something, or he had gotten fined or kicked out of a game or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows up, and at the next game he was at, I started just taunting him a little bit. Come on, over here, cross that line. I was, doing the little line in the sand thing.
Oh, yeah.
All game, and finally he walks over and he's like, "Come on, man, it's cool, Let's shake on it." Well, he goes to shake my hand, pulls me in, boom, punches me right square in the mouth.
No way.
Okay, Rocky's face, but my mouth and nose. He's got a big fist. Anyways, knocks me down.
My God.
I kind of go out, and the next thing I know is the referee's, leaning over me going, "Get off the effing court." So I get up, go back into my room, take the head off, and there's blood everywhere. I got blood all over my face. My nose is bleeding, my lip's bleeding, my tooth is loose, and my lower lip is just quivering because I'm like, what happened? Like, I just got punched. So I had to figure out at that point whether he was playing or whether he was serious. I just had to know. I don't know why, but there was this just, I got to know.
Yeah.
So I yelled to my assistant, "Go get my stilts." So I got on my stilts and I go back out there and I start doing the taunting thing again. And sure enough, he comes out of the huddle and he goes to punch me, but he goes through my legs. And I mean, I'm bracing. I'm just like,
Oh,
"Ooh,
God.
here he comes."
Oh, my God.
So he goes through my legs and makes it look like he just punched me in the crotch.
Yeah.
So I stumble and fall and everything, but I right there, I knew this guy, he knows, he's playing.
Yes.
He's got, okay.
Yes.
All right. So very next game, I had planned this, been thinking about this, but I brought it to the team, to my boss and I said, "Hey, look, I want to taunt him to the point where I want to set up a fight." And for my skit that night, because I had to do a skit every game, either a skit or a stunt, something, I had the first quarter break.
Okay.
So for this one, I'm going to set up a fight between me and Barkley. And they're like, "No, absolutely not." I'm like, "Come on, man.
Yeah.
I know this will work." He's like, "No, do it."
Oh.
They said, "Nope, absolutely not." I'm like, "I guarantee, like, I'll put my job on this." And they're like, "Walk me through it again." So I go and walk them through it. I'm like, everything says no, but go for it, whatever. So they said, "But if this does not work, we will never do something like this again."
Okay.
I'm like, "You got it." So set this whole thing up. I went out on stilts. In this corner, we have Rocky standing at 9 feet tall,
Yeah.
weighing in at whatever. In this corner, we have the round bound to rebound, weighing in at,
Oh
we
my
said
gosh,
like,
this is so exciting.
380 pounds. Anyways, and they said, let's get ready to rumble, that whole thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we came out, ding, ding, ding. I walk over there. Oh, I even had a poster that had this big chicken on it. It was huge. It was huge, size of that wall right there. And I unrolled that.
Oh my God.
Number 34 is a chicken and had an egg underneath it and blah, blah. He walks out and After the huddle, jumps up, punches me straight in the face. Wham! I go down like a Christmas tree. I go down like a big old tree. Wham! Put the Christmas tree out.
Christmas tree.
Anyways,
Leave it.
I don't know why I said that. I've never said that.
It's my favorite holiday. That's why.
Right? I go down like a tree. And from then on, it was on. Every time he came
Oh my
down.
God, I love it. So you
Yeah.
guys built this relationship without
Yeah.
ever even speaking or talking. It was just
Yep.
purely based on action
Yeah.
and performance.
So we did talk after
Okay,
that.
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So I was in my room after the game. I got my hand in a bucket of ice water, both hands. And because I had gone down so hard, my wrist, it had jammed my wrist.
Oh, yeah.
Well, get a knock and the door opens. And here's Barkley. He's like, hey, man, I ripped my hands out of the bucket. Hey, how's it going? Dripping hands. He's like, you okay? I go, oh, yeah, I'm fine. He goes, man, that was a lot of fun. He goes, let's do more of that.
Oh, my God.
I go, you got it, man.
I felt like he had to like appreciate that, or you're out there just playing along.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't have the guts to do that, and you were like, "We're gonna do it. We're gonna put on this show."
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I think he respected me
I
for
do
taking
too.
the hit.
Yeah.
And then also, he knows it's entertainment. Let's do more of that.
Well, you took the
It was
hit.
natural for him.
Yeah, you took the hit, and you came back out for more.
Yeah.
And you taunted him some more. He probably thought it was a one and done, and you came back for more.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So
I
we just
love
get.
that.
There was one point though where we were so bad that they'd build the game. They advertised it. Come see Rocky take on Charles Barkley.
Oh my God.
instead of see the Nuggets take on, or
that is
whatever.
so cool.
Yeah,
I
it was
love that.
it was great. Yeah, we built a great relationship. And speaking of the championships, just before it was like the game before we won the championship, I got one last shot in on him.
Oh,
So
you
we did a little jersey exchange on the court. He gave me his jersey, and then I threw my jersey at his face and punched him in the chest and
my
ran off.
God.
Got one last lick in before I
that is
retired.
So awesome. How many games did you perform over the course of your career? How many would you say?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't done the math on
Oh,
that.
that's okay. That's so many.
So 31 years until my son actually took my place for a short time. So 31 years, then I came back and did the championship. Anyways, I got to figure that out, but it's in the thousands.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is
And then that's not counting like 250 appearances a year outside
oh gosh.
the arena.
You're busy. You're busy.
Busy. Yeah.
So with all the highs and that doing so many cool things, why don't you share with us? Is there ever a time where it got real low for you, or was it always? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't always fun and roses. So
It was always 10 on the Richter scale, always living that high. It was so much fun and no problems ever.
Right,
no,
right. Perfect.
Obviously I'm human and I went through human things. I went through life. Another misconception is that, the guy inside there is, just always happy and getting paid well and life is good and nothing could be wrong with anything in
Right.
his life.
Right.
But yeah, went through 2 divorces and I was, you can Google this, but I was arrested for domestic violence at one point
Oh, wow.
at the beginning of that divorce thing. And I was never convicted or anything like that. But obviously that was a rough moment when
Sure.
all of a sudden everybody turns on you. And I thought my career was over at that point. I didn't ever, I can clarify this right now. I didn't ever touch my ex-wife.
Sure.
It was only an argument. And who doesn't have arguments? But I went to jail for it because of
Oh,
Colorado law. And I thought it was over at that point. I did have the Nuggets stand by me at that point. The guy, Don Elliman, who was the president of the Nuggets at the time, pulled me into his office the morning after I got out of jail. Spent the weekend in jail.
oh
But
my
he
gosh.
he said, "Hey, what happened?" I walk into a room. First of all, I walk into a room and there's attorneys and HR and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
all the bigwigs standing
Yeah.
around. And he asked me what happened, and I said everything. I told him everything. And when I get done, he leans back in his chair and he goes, "Man, that's a lot." He goes, "But I can kind of relate." He says, "So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to stand by you
Oh, gosh.
until you are convicted of anything." He says, "At that point, you will be terminated. But if you've done nothing wrong and you're not convicted, we'll stand by you all the way."
Oh, I love
I
it.
burst into tears and told him, "I appreciate that." And I said, "Then I will be here a long time." And because I hadn't done anything wrong. I knew I hadn't. And I'm very proud to say that my kids even know this, that I took care of their mother. And the best way I could. I was always a good guy there. And I know from that I'm telling you, and I'll tell everybody out there, hey, everything comes out in the wash. You're a good guy.
Yes.
Stand by that. Believe in yourself. And everything comes out. The truth
Everything
always
does.
surfaces.
It
And it did.
does.
So I never got that thing, out there in the news saying, hey,
Yeah.
he's a good guy and all
Right.
that. But whatever. I know it.
Yeah.
But during that, I went through, and after that, there were times when I was pretty low and went through some depression, went through times when I didn't think I could go on. There were some times when there was a time when I got real serious and I thought it had to end. So it got to a point where I was gonna end it. I ended up at the last second backing out of that. But
I'm so glad.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
glad.
me too. But I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Rocky, I wouldn't be here. It was the fact that I had to get in costume. Even
Yeah.
in the off season,
Yeah.
get in costume, get out there, entertain, put smiles on people's faces. Man, that was just enough endorphins and all that to keep me going and to pull me out of that hole I was in and keep me going for the next day. The other thing is that I had to look for things that were positives, things to live for, and that was my kids. Couldn't do this to them, and got through it.
I love that. It's life. It's very, very hard and it's never easy. And there's beautiful moments, but that's the thing with moments. There's very dark ones too. And you'll get through it. You can get through it. It's just a matter of time and just not quitting. And you definitely have a no quit attitude. I love that about you. I really do. And you're an amazing person. And we're so happy you're here. Like, thank you so much for sharing this because it's real and it's part of life and it's serious. So
Yeah, it is serious. I mean, everybody's going through something.
it's
Everybody's going through something, no matter what, and you never know. And sometimes I'm writing a book right now, and one of
yay.
the guy that's helping me with this, he goes, when I told him that part of my life, he
Mhm.
goes, "Isn't it interesting that?" He says, "Think about it this way: how many of you, people like you, are going through that very same thing in the arena, at those games that you were performing at? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you were helping them And I'm like, whoa, you're getting deep on me. But,
But
you know,
it's true.
hey,
It's
we're
very
all
true.
human, and
And the more you go through, the more relatable you are. And the harder times you have and the more hard times you have is like another tool to your tool belt. You're just able to utilize that and help somebody else. And that's huge.
yeah.
So you mentioned you have a book coming, which is exciting.
Yes. So it is, about my time as Rocky, but it's mostly lessons learned, and
Perfect.
how I got through a lot of these times, and how Rocky was my best friend that got me through things, and
Yes.
how it was an extension of me, and at the same time, how it's kind of a I don't want to say a self-help book, but it's the lessons I've learned,
I love
and
that.
I didn't want to just do a book that was, you know, hey, this
Mhm.
is all about me and Rocky. I mean, it is, but
Yeah,
it's also about how, uh, you know, how it helped me, and hopefully it'll help others. I
I
want to.
love that.
It's coming along pretty good.
Yay. Well, that
Yeah.
is exciting. I'm really looking forward to reading that. I want to read that. I think a book like that, just they're rare. They're not everybody's Rocky
Well,
writing a
yeah. I mean,
book.
how many mascots are there?
Not
Not
not many.
Yeah.
And that have taken it this far. How does it end? Championship?
Well, yes. After all this time of 33 years being with the Nuggets, after 31, having it turn over to my son, the issues that he went through physically, and then him leaving the Nuggets, unfortunately, by his choice. Just some of
Oh,
those things, and then, but yes, championship, and then what's next?
oh,
There's hey, this isn't the end,
yes, I love
and I'm
that.
just getting warmed up.
So, yeah, I was going to ask, where's the championship ring?
Uh, oh boy. Uh, uh, well, I'm still waiting on that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they.
Waiting. So what happened?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm still waiting.
Really?
I'm s-
You have to tell me if you don't mind sharing about the championship, what's happened since then.
okay, so for me, since then, so my last game was that championship game, and
Oh
then
my
the
gosh.
parade and all that. I actually finished out the summer, and then my son jumped back in costume after his surgery, and I left at that point. I was done, and he took over. His he had to actually have double hip replacement surgery
Oh my
late
gosh.
last season, and yeah, they just decided that was a time to make a change. So, um, anyways, I can't get into too much of that,
Sure.
uh,
Okay.
but I'm hoping that there's a ring forthcoming.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but
Absolutely.
other than that, hey, from there, I'm moving on. I've got a podcast called Between the Fur. I've
Yay.
been
That's
that's been
great.
going for years now. Talking about mascots, talking about experiences. It's just a place where mascots, former mascots, some current mascots can share these stories, kind of like what
Love
I've
it.
done. And so I'm doing that. I've got other businesses. I've got adventure parks that I own. I'm opening up one next week in Wisconsin as well.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I'm moving to Texas. My wife's from there, so it's time for her to go home.
Oh.
And I'm moving there and going to start some other projects there. I'm working on another one that I can't really talk about right now. I'll keep you in suspense on that
Oh,
one.
please. Yeah.
But it's been a wild ride. I'll tell you one thing that I have. I want to kind of circle back, if I may,
Yes, please.
and that you know, y- people think that again, all the glitz and all that stuff was the fun part, and it really was. But I also want to share, and I hope this doesn't sound too cliche, but I'm telling you, I was, I was the luckiest man on earth in that I got to work with my family.
Yeah.
And when they were little, they were in my skits. I've had my
God.
kids on the court since they were 2 weeks old.
Oh my gosh.
And especially, the song, "Well, shake it up, baby." Now,
Yeah.
it was perfect for my kids. Go out there and just, make them shake a little bit. Not
Oh,
really shaking them, just vibrating them a little bit. Uh, but they've been in on
so
it the whole time.
cute.
I mean, as they got older, I'd pick them up from school and go to the games. Everybody called them my little ducklings because I had 3 of them and they were right in a row. They'd walk in with their little backpacks on. We'd do their homework while I practiced and run back in and do their homework. And then, they just hang out during the game. They had seats to every game, and they would, they just were with me on this journey. And now I've got a son my oldest son is the mascot for the Detroit Pistons.
Oh,
He's Hooper.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So he's following Dad's footsteps.
Yep.
He found his gift too, just like you.
Yep. He's been in costume now professionally for 7 years.
Wow. Oh
2
my gosh.
with Cleveland and 5 with the Pistons.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my
You're so
middle
cool.
son who took over for me, but not he is he's pursuing another place in the NBA. My youngest, he does all my social media. He does all that. He produces my podcast. He's my producer,
Yay.
and
Oh,
he's working
wow.
on this other project with me. And so I've been so blessed to work with my kids, and and my wife has been
Amazing.
just a huge support. I finally found the right one. 3rd time's a charm for anybody that's wondering.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
That's so good. Well, we're so happy you're here. And I just want to share with the audience, where can they find you, Ken? Where can people reach out to you, follow you? What's the best way for them to, I mean, you shared so much and you're so relatable to so many. And I just want to be able to make sure we can plug you into as many
Yeah,
people out there as
I
possible.
appreciate that. Yeah. So easiest way is just my website. It's just my name, kensolomon.com.
Okay, we'll have that
Ken with
up.
2 N's, all O's in Solomon, kensolomon.com. It's got all my contact info there,
Perfect.
all my social media and things like that. Ways to get a hold of me, get a hold of Cade. I do public speaking as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's
You are
fun. So
just,
yeah, you can go right there.
as we're plugging in on where to find you and everything, I love your shirt. You had mentioned to me that you have a gal you partnered up with and that shirt, or you started
Yes,
repping.
I partnered up with uh, her brand is Triple Star.
Love it.
And so go to triplestar.com. She
Okay.
produces shirts like this, hats like
So
this,
cool. I love your
and
shirt.
the proceeds go to veterans.
We
Yeah.
love that.
I'm like,
That
how'd you
is
get into this? She goes, well, I met up with this, I talked to this veteran. She was well connected with the Nuggets, and that's where she was with the Nuggets forever. She's one of my faves, Tracy
love it.
Hartman. She's just heart of gold. And so she recently departed from the Nuggets, and she started this brand.
I love it.
And I'm like, oh, I'm in all the way. I want to help you as much as I can. So yeah,
Great.
proceeds go to veterans,
And
and
it's
they're just
called
Triple Star.
Triple Star. Okay, we'll put that
Yep,
up here too. So,
triplestar.com.
yay.
Yeah, you can go order info. You can also order stuff like this on my website as well. I've got my
Oh,
own little
great.
brand if you want to,
Well, we want it. We want everybody to be able to purchase all of it. It's so good. It's so
well, go
good.
check it out at least.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you
We're
for
so
having
happy to
me. I
have you.
appreciate you and Josh over here
Yeah.
too.
He's
You guys.
you said 3rd time's a charm, 2nd for me.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you though.
Well,
Thanks
love you
so
guys.
much.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
love you.